The Regina Pats taking on the Edmonton Oil Kings. Puck drop at 7 o'clock, 6:30 pregame show here on the almighty 620 CKRM. And the man who will bring you that pregame show is the voice of the Pats, one Mr. Diamond, Dante De Caria. Dante, the Pats are seventh right now in the Eastern Conference. And I know there's two teams within striking distance, Moose Jaw and Red Deer, coming into the weekend. And it's critical they stay in the top 8 slot. And you're facing a team that's having a pretty good season. The Edmonton Oil Kings are 23 games above 500. How important is this game Friday night to the Pats' playoff hopes?
Well, I think every game the rest of the season is incredibly important for the Regina Pats, and there's only about, say, 6 weeks or so left in the 2025-26 season. Yeah, this game is huge. And not just because of where they are in the standings, but they've actually played very well against the Edmonton Oil Kings this year. In fact, they're 2-1 against Edmonton with 2 one-goal victories in the last 2 games, both at Rogers Place in Edmonton, and their only loss was back in October, and they also lost 3-2. So, yeah, this weekend is crucial for the Regina Pats. They're 2 points up on Moose Jaw, 1 point up on Red Deer, 7th in the Eastern Conference standings. You know, Moose Jaw's not necessarily playing their best as of late. Red Deer's been, up and down. They're playing still good hockey, obviously still in the playoff spot. And Regina's won 4 straight games. And tomorrow, Penticton comes into town. That's a little bit of an unknown. They're the oldest team in the WHL, so we'll see what brings this weekend.
Still a lot of hockey to be played, and it's great to get a victory, but there's nothing better than beating someone who's really high up there in the standings like Edmonton is. When I look at the standings, if the playoffs were to start today, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would be a 2 versus 7 matchup where the Pats would face Medicine Hat. So I'll just ask the question, how would the Pats match up against Medicine Hat?
Well, the Pats have only played the Medicine Hat Tigers once this year, so that means they'll play them 3 more times before the end of the season. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see. They are a little bit banged up. No Pickford, no Wu as of late, but they did receive Andrew Basham from the Calgary Flames at the WHL trade deadline. So how they match up, it's tough to say because the last time the Pats played the Tigers, believe it or not, was September 27th. They haven't played them since. And both teams have changed drastically. I mean, Medicine Hat has added. Regina has, I guess, for lack of a better term, subtracted with Julie Mays not with the team, but Maddox Schultz and Liam Pugh are better. That's an interesting question. I don't know if I have the answer, Brennan.
That's kind of the great thing about the sport, isn't it? Like, teams just change so much at the start of the season. We talk about that with the CFL, but it's especially true in your league. There's just so many moving parts, and if you haven't seen anybody since late September, early October, it's kind of a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get, even if it's a 2 versus 7 matchup.
100%. You're 100% right about that. And Medicine Hat went on a 17-game winning streak or whatever it was. And, they're a really good team. And, hey, it might not be the Medicine Hat Tigers. It might be the Prince Albert Raiders. I don't know. I mean, Prince Albert seems to be kind of running away with the Eastern Conference right now, but Medicine Hat still could potentially catch them. Edmonton's probably saying the same thing right now. They would love to say that they want to catch the Medicine Hat Tigers. They're only 5 points back of the Tigers coming into today's game. So time will tell. As I mentioned, Medicine Hat's a little bit banged up, but they're a fast team. In order for Regina, say in a first-round playoff matchup, to have success, maybe take Medicine Hat to the distance or maybe even upset them, they're going to have to play really good defensive hockey. And they're probably going to have to rely on their goaltender, Merrick Schlenker. Their older players are going to have to be their older players. They are going to have to try to avoid cheating, turning over pucks at the blue lines, good to have a good defensive system, manage pucks efficiently. Yeah, just all the cliches, because Medicine Hat is a team that really can score off the rush, and they're so fast that Pats D are going to have to be really important against them. And, hey, maybe Regina plays Edmonton in round 1 if they make it. Maybe it's PA, maybe it's Medicine Hat. Time will tell.
You mentioned Merrick Schlenker, and I'm old enough to remember covering the Pats when his dad, Chris Schlenker, played on the blue line. And so he'll be at the game tonight. And who are some other names aside from him and Liam Pugh and Maddox Schultz? I feel like we hear those names a lot. Who are some other players who have really been stepping up for the Pats?
Well, I know these are maybe not guys that fans, when they look at the score sheet at the end of the night and see their names pop out there. But I've really been impressed with Zach Moore, Jace Eglin, Dave Sturkach. That line has been very good. And it actually came since Brad Haroff decided to move Dave Sturkach to the wing and put Zach Moore in the middle and Jace Eglin on the right. And what's allowed him to throw that combination out there with a lot of home games in the recent month has been obviously Maddox Schultz and Liam Pugh in the lineup more times than not. Being able to put that shutdown line out there, that's provided energy for the team. In fact, they're always the starting line at the beginning of every single period. They're taking on tough defensive matchups against the other team's top line. So that way Brad at home can match up maybe his top line, Caden Brown and Fawcett, etc., with maybe the other team's second or third line. And then he kind of throws out the Moore, Eglin, and Sturkach line out there to try to shut down the other team's top players. On the road, it's maybe a little bit different because, you know, the home team has last change, but on home ice, the Pats are able to kind of run with that a little bit, and we're going to see that line out there tonight. Been really impressed with those three players, how they play away from the puck. Jace Eglin's just amazing as far as his will to compete. He blocks shots all the time. Really like their play. Another guy that doesn't get on the score sheet a lot, but I think it has a really bright future in the WHL and with the Pats is Mathis Paul. He's a 6'3.5", 6'4" power forward that is really coming into his own as of late. You know, he finishes his checks all the time. He actually moves his feet quite well. He's got a pretty good shot, good playmaking ability, good hockey sense. His compete level is very high. He's somebody that I think fans are going to really enjoy watching in the next 2 or 3 years. He's only 16, so that's maybe why I don't think we talk about him too much, because he's not really somebody that the team kind of relies upon as far as contributing offensively, but he is an important player on the fourth line. So, yeah, I think those are the guys that maybe don't get enough love, but like Caden Brown, Keats Fawcett, Effer McNutt, those three players, your older players, have been the Pats' best players. So when you look at the score sheet every single night and you see those guys, you obviously expect that.
When I had asked earlier or mentioned the 15-year-old rookies, Pugh and Schultz, and I've often wondered, what should we expect? Because we're out of the good old days where if you were at that age, you could play as many as 5 games and that was that, and then maybe join on the playoff run. And it's different now where they're here for half the season. My original expectation was that we were going to see a lot of up and down. There were probably going to be days where they looked like world beaters, you know, getting 4 or 5 points, and then they would go through strings of 3-4 games where they looked almost invisible. And you just see that when you see someone who's underage, who's for lack of a better term, phenom status. What have we been seeing from them? Have you been seeing that up and down as well, or has it been more consistent than that?
I'd say since the Christmas break, we've seen it more consistent. In fact, Maddox Schultz has 11 points in his last 11 games, and Liam Pugh's got 5 points in his last 6 games. I think since the Christmas break, those players have really kind of fit in seamlessly. I felt like there was a lot of up and downs in the first half of the season, and that's with limited action, to be quite honest with you, Brendan. It's not like they were playing, all 30-plus games in the first half of the season. They'd only played half of them. It took Maddox Schultz 10 games to score his first WHL goal. It actually came just before the Christmas break in December. Since then, he's got 8 goals. He's been really good. I really feel like he's fit in. If you don't have a roster sheet in front of you and you see number 19 skating around, you might think he's 18 or 19 years old. And the same goes for Liam Pugh. Their confidence is higher. They're understanding how to play at this level. And, I was reading an interesting article by Taylor Shire in the Leader Post today where he talked about, Maddox, and I was reading some of his quotes, and he mentioned, and I'm paraphrasing right now, but he mentioned on the lines of, being with the team a little bit more in the second half and practicing more with the team. For example, he's only played 1 game in the month of February with the Pac Canadians, and that was on February 3rd. He hasn't been in the lineup since, and the same goes for Liam Pugh. They're really focusing on playing with the Regina Pats right now, and they're here with the team full time. They're not jumping back and forth like they did, say, earlier on in the season. And I think that's really benefited those players because, A, they're playing better. They understand how to play at this level. They're not, turning pucks over in bad spots. They're not forcing on-man rushes. They're understanding how to manage the puck. They're understanding, how to play with their teammates. And Like, they're just so smart. They're such good players. So to answer your original question, yes, I saw ups and downs at the start of the season, a lot of lows, but I haven't really seen a lot of ups and downs in the last 10 or so games that they've played. It really seems like they belong in this league right now.
Is there a challenge in having your identity as your two best players are a couple of underagers?
Well, I mean, I guess people have to ask themselves, what do you mean by best players? Are they the most skilled players on the ice? Do they have the highest ceiling? Yes, but the top performers every single night and the best players is Caden Brown, Keith Fawcett, and Efren McNutt. Those have to be your best players because they're your 19 and 20-year-olds. Can't rely on your 15-year-old players to carry their team. Now, can they complement the team? Yes, but at the end of the day, Fawcett, Brown, McNutt, etc., have to be Bridgman. They have to be the team's best players. They have to be their leaders. So yes, when you look at the Pats roster and you look at their team, you go, okay, Matty Schultz and Liam Pugh are the two players that have the highest ceiling, the most skilled players. They make the most amazing plays. They shoot the puck the best. But as far as their overall game, I would say the older players are just a little bit ahead of them because they've played 200-plus games in the Western Hockey League. Matty Schultz and Liam Pugh have played just over 20.
That's a good point, and I guess I was thinking about the great story of Jeff Friesen putting the team on his back at age 16 in that 93 playoff run and dragging them all the way to the conference final. And what a heavy load that was for a young player. Sounds like we're not in that situation, at least not yet,
No.
with these two youngsters. I know that Regina has become more and more of a football community in the last 20 years, in the time that I've been in this town. But we're still more of a hockey province, I believe. And the Pats and just the sport really has its most interest, whether it's at the WHL level or at the SJHL level, when we get after Christmas. So here in February, in prime time hockey season, when there isn't a lot else going on out there, is it more fun being around the rink? Are you seeing bigger crowds?
I am seeing bigger crowds, and we're expected to have some really big crowds this weekend. And I think what's going to add to the atmosphere this weekend is that it's family weekend. So all parents, billets, siblings, etc., are here inside the Brand Center. In fact, as we're doing this interview right now, there's a little bit of a reception for all the billet families and parents down in the Pats VIP room just behind the Zamboni entrance. And, when I was just walking out of that room, Dale Durkach was giving a speech and thanking all the billets and thanking all the parents for their time and allowing, the Pats to take care of their kids throughout the season. We're going to have a special ceremony where we're going to honor all the moms and billet moms before today's game, and then we're expected to have all the dads on the bench for warm-up as well in tomorrow's game. So it's a busy weekend for the organization. There's a lot of moving parts going on for everybody involved, and they're just trying to pull off a really good experience for the fans, but also for the families involved as well, because it's a special time for all the families and parents to get together and to get to know each other, and for the players to be around their families, especially for those that don't have their family within the province and don't get to see them a whole lot. So I think it's going to be a fun weekend. I think we're seeing a lot of really good crowds. Crowds are increasing with the team obviously playing some pretty good hockey as of late. They just need to find a way to continue to stay on that trend. The schedule's not going to get any easier. They've got some tough teams coming up. You look at Penticton tomorrow, they're second in the Western Conference standings, and then you have the Edmonton Oil Kings tonight, who are a very good team. And, coming up, there's no more Swift Currents. They do play Lethbridge a couple of more times, so that's, 2 games that the Pats need to find a way to win. So time will tell, but I think, from talking to the guys in the interviews that I've done, they mentioned that they appreciate the energy that the crowd was giving them on Monday in that 7-6 shootout win over Swift Current. And without the fans, I don't think that the Pats would have won that game, because everybody was into it. They were booing the refs. They were on their feet. And it just felt like, the whole city was kind of behind them in that game. And it was a really cool experience for the players. And I think they really wanted to win that game for the fans, and that's what happened.
Did you get to go out to Penticton on the West Coast swing, or did you guys go through the States this year?
We went through the States this year. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very good road trip, 0-6. Next year, the team will be going to BC.
What's it been like having Penticton in the WHL? I was curious to see how that would all
They're
work.
really good, man. They actually just recently set the record for most wins by an expansion franchise in their inaugural season. They've got 36 wins. They've only lost 13 games in regulation. More than half of their roster is undrafted. These are all American kids that they were able to recruit from Minnesota. I think I counted 8 Minnesota kids on their roster. Guys from the US NDP program, former BCHL stars, guys that did well in the USHL that have come over. They're the oldest team in the WHL. They have 15 19-year-olds on their team, 15, and 4 20-year-olds because the league granted 4 20-year-olds for them because of their first season, and they've obviously taken advantage of that. It's not even close. So think about it. Every time they dress their lineup, they've got all 19 and 20-year-olds in their lineup. Well, that's going to change next year, is allowing them only to carry 3 20-year-olds, but they're still going to carry a lot of 19-year-old players. That's why they've had a lot of success. I give Fred Harbinson a lot of credit. He's gone a different pathway as far as drafting and developing. He's essentially just gone out and recruited players like they did in Junior A. The question remains to be seen on how long will this last, but kudos to them. They've done a great job in their first season. That program has always won at every level.
When I covered the SJ, I often thought the fact they used older players really worked to their advantage to, just making a better product. And I guess Penticton's been trying to follow that too. And sorry, very quickly, because I know I've got to run. Have you ever walked out of any of these arenas and the autograph seekers thought you were one of the players and asked you for your autograph? Has that happened yet?
Me?
Yeah.
Like me?
Yeah.
No.
Yes,
no.
you.
No. Not me.
Next time we're at the rink, I'll ask you for your autograph. And then you can say that it's happened. So, hey, listen, enjoy the game tonight. I'll be at the game. In my day job, I'm entertaining like 20 clients. And so
good for you.
There's lots of buzz around the rink tonight, and I'm excited to come down there. I'll pop in and say hi when I get a chance.
All right. See you here, buddy. See ya.